Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Gaia's Garden in Kuranda. Today I've got something special for you. We're going to introduce a completely new segment. So what I thought, I'm going to group the videos that I'm going to do in the future in particular categories, and one of them will be the biggest mistakes I've done while I was growing my food forest. So today we're going to look at one of those issues. It's basically one of the things that in hindsight I would do differently, and I want to let you know about that. So let's check it out. Follow me over there. So you can see the swale going through here. Not much water in there at the moment, but you can still see the ditch, and you can also see an overflow. So let me just walk over there. So you see me standing in the swale, and this is the overflow here, right? So the water level would usually only go to the level of the overflow. What I didn't consider was that eventually I have to maintain all of this with a mower or a brush cutter. And of course the mower is much faster than the brush cutter is. So probably a year or two later, I've asked myself, so wait a second, why do I actually have a ditch here? There isn't even a plant there, right? Because it's an overflow. So this whole segment from here, this area, this section, could just be straight through. And then I could have had my rider mower to go from one interrow here to the next one. And because I didn't do that, now my mower gets caught on this lump here, and then again it bottoms out here. So it really is a struggle with the rider mower, and now I have to maintain this with the brush cutter. So to tell you the truth, I would love to change that, but I haven't found the time yet to throw like 10 wheelbarrows worth of soil into here. Also, I don't have the soil. So it's kind of like here to stay, unless I'm gonna feel very motivated one day. And that's also not my only overflow. So I've got 3 for now. But every future overflow that I'm gonna do here, because the swales are not done yet, they will have a different design. So basically, there will be a section of raised soil here, just the width of the rider mower, so that the water can still run from here over this way and from here over this way. So that means that little passageway will be the same height as the overflow, not higher, just the same height. So it's basically flat or plain, so that the water can again just rise over it and then just escape as a sheet. If this passageway would be higher than this level and it would climb up to here, then the water would be constricted between this point and here, you know, and that means it would be a very narrow passage for the water to flow down, and that would make the water fast. So what I want to ensure is that the water is not getting caught by this passage by the driveway for the rider mower. So I want it flat, right, and then climb. So then the water has the same level that it can escape over, and it gives it a large surface area to escape, and that reduces the speed of the water. And the other improvement that I can see here is, so when my friend scooped out the swales, he just took a batter bucket and scraped out from here to there, right, and then put all that onto the berm. But that left a fairly sharp edge here, and my rider mower doesn't like that. And also it's not really necessary to have that there. So what I should have done instead, I should have had my friend to scrape off this entire lot here to make it a nice, smooth, continuous slope down there, so that my rider mower can actually drive down into this. And now to change that on an extent like several hundred meters of swales, I would need a machine again to smoothen that out. And because I've now planted all this, I have no access for machinery, so I'm kind of stuck with this. So for any future extensions of my swales, I will definitely change the design of the swale themselves. It also gains me a little bit more soil because the swale will be wider. It won't be deeper, so once again I'm only going to go as far down as the topsoil, and once I've reached the line, which is quite distinct on this property, and it's about this far down, that's where the topsoil changes into a very orangey type of subsoil, and I would only scrape that layer off and then mound it on the berm just as we did here. And so these two things, the overflows and the swale themselves, I should have done better so that it would have facilitated me maintaining the grass. Now over time, the trees will shade the grass more and more. I may show you that in a second over there, on the other side there. And then the grass maintenance becomes less and less of an issue. But for the last 3 years, grass was a major workload for me to deal with. And so I could have had an easier time if my swales and my overflows were shaped differently. This is an overflow that's large enough for cars to cross. And in this case, I did put a bit of thought into this and realized, well, I don't want the cars to go through a huge bump, which is the swale. And I also didn't want to bury a culvert pipe, and I didn't want to build a bridge either. So what I then realized was the ditch becomes smaller when I move it further up the hill. So basically this overflow has a ditch behind it that curves uphill, and so then all the water that comes down from the hill gets diverted on either side. So this is basically a curve, right, that goes like this, and it diverts water on either side. You can come around the corner and you can see the swale behind it here, and the water comes from the road and goes either side. So in this case, I'm trying to prevent the water from sitting on the road because it is a road. And this is the difference between the overflow in the orchard and the overflow on a road, because you really want to keep the road dry. So if you want to do a road in a swale, I recommend you to just either deviate off the horizontal line and make the road going a little bit up, right? So when you laser it out, you have the road crossing a bit higher up on a different contour line than the rest of the swale, or you later on just curve the ditch up a little bit and let it divert on either side. So you're creating a shoulder that keeps the middle of the road dry. And here we are in an area where the canopy is already quite dense, especially because of the ice cream beans, but also the other fruit trees here have grown quite tall. And so when you look on the ground here, you can see that the grass cover has become quite sparse. In the back there, the grass cover is still quite good, but the grass is really slow. So I hardly ever have to mow this, and that's where I wanted to get eventually. And then the issue that I've just talked about with the swales doesn't really play that much of a role. But for the first few years that you're establishing an orchard on swales, I can highly recommend you to think really well about the shape of your swales and the shape of your overflows, so you have access with a ride-on mower. So in summary, what I have learned out of this is that for the future extension of my swales, I will continue to have my overflows on the same contour line as my swales, but I will not excavate them. I will just leave them filled, and if the overflow happens to be a little bit higher than the original level of the land, I will actually top up that access bit behind the overflow, just so it's plain with the overflow. And wherever I want a road for vehicles to cross the swales, I will move the swale up the hill so that it's on a higher contour line, and then the water has to go from there down into the swales on either side. And this will then keep the road dry and deviate all the water off into the swales. And this is all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the first part of this new series, My Biggest Mistakes. I will rotate the series with a few others, like a portrait of a plant, where I'll be talking a bit more in detail about either a supporting plant or a fruit tree. And of course, I'm going to continue with my series How To. So please subscribe to my channel and stay tuned. I'm Mike Geyer, and I will see you for the next one.